Okay, meron po tayong nabimbing katanungan. Okay, Governor, Congresswoman, how
Please call me
important...
Gwen.
Okay.
Please call me Gwen.
How important is the touch, for the ordinary Filipino? Yung nahawakan nila yung governor nila, yung congresswoman nila. How important is that to a Filipino?
I think it's really very, very important for a Filipino to emphasize and to feel that there is someone who is working for them, who feels for them. Iba yung nakikita lang nila o naririnig lang sa radyo o nakikita yung picture o nakikita sa TV. Iba talaga yung I'm there in the flesh, in person, and they can hold my hand and even whisper what their problem is. And on the other side of the story, it's important for the public official himself.
Yeah.
Kasi we have a tendency, when we are tasked with this huge responsibility of serving, in my case, millions of Cebuanos, we have this tendency to just, reduce them to figures.
Correct.
Ilang percentage ba ang indigents dyan? Ilang percentage ang mothers or whatever?
Para statistics na lang sila.
Oo, and they become cold statistics, which they are not.
Correct.
Each and every one of them has their own story to tell.
Correct.
We may not be able to solve each and every problem, but it will give you a wider perspective of how you can possibly come up with a solution that would be able to serve the greater majority. Ganun lang eh. Hindi pwede yung makikinig ka lang, ganito yun, ganito, and then just stay inside the comfort of your air-conditioned office at the Capitol. I used to say, these are my 4 walls of prison where I have to stay because I have to sign tons and tons of paperwork. But I always tell them, please give me the time to go out to the towns, to go out to the barangays, the islets, because that's where I should be.
That's your freedom.
It's my heaven to be with the Cebuanos, really. Because, I think they were the ones who energized me. You know, those that would come along with me on my out-of-town trips, covering 4 or 5 towns in a day. Sometimes in the morning, I'd be in the north. By noontime, I'd be in the west. By this evening, I'd be in the south. And that's covering about more than 300 kilometers from tip to tip. And those that would accompany me for the first time, they'd fall ill. They'd get sick for a week, at least. But, they get so amazed because they know that I've been up since very, very early in the morning. I've been, beating thousands and thousands of people. And yet, by the time we reach the 5th town, wala na sila talaga halos, they're already crawling with exhaustion. And there I was still so sprightly and so bright and lively. And I guess it has always been because I get that energy from the people. Alam ko naman yung iba, pagdating ko, yung iba sasabihin, alam mo, 9 o'clock pa yan nag-antay, kahit 4 o'clock yung schedule. But I said, why did they have to wait at 9 o'clock? Because they were so afraid they might miss you. Na wala na silang space, hindi na sila makakita sa'yo, hindi ka na nila mahawakan. So, when you hear that, para bang you set aside all the tiredness, the weariness of your bone. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But then, really, when you're with the people, it gives you that drive and fuels your passion to serve even more and to work even harder for them.
May tanong ka kanina pare, ano yung sinasabi sa peace and order?
Well, alam mo, I would like to congratulate you, no? Because when I was at the National Security Council as a director of the National NSC, ang Cebu ang pinaka-top sa peace and order.
Thank you.
And I believe, and we believe during that time na yung control nyo sa mga barangay ay talagang bantay na bantay, hindi bantay sa laki, just like what's happening in some other provinces. Just like what's happening in Cebu. Kita mo? Kung talagang nagtatrabaho lang yung mga local government units doon, mga barangay doon, di dapat tayo nakakapagbakasyon doon. Ang ganda-ganda ng Cebu eh. Ang mga beaches doon better than Boracay or Sabah.
Well, yes, thank you. That was one of my priorities. I had a 12-point agenda that guided me in the programs that I would implement. And peace and order was one of my priorities because I said, no grand master plan for progress and development can ever work unless you first put into order what is the most basic, safety and security of your constituents, the peace and order situation. So what I did was, and that was early in my first term or second term, I just simply declared all-out war against all NPAs and communist terrorists in order to control the insurgency problem in Cebu.
Wow.
At that time, I got pummeled by our
Security officers.
well, I got pummeled by our leftist organizations, saying that, wow, blood will flow into the streets because she just declared all-out war. But I said, no, no, you misconstrued me. By all-out war, I meant that we should address all facets of the problem, and it shouldn't be just the military solution. I will support the military 100% or even 101% because we as public officials swore to uphold the Constitution.
Yes.
Correct.
And we should know where our sentiments and loyalties should lie.
Yes.
Correct.
And so I will support them with all the logistics that they needed. On the other hand, I will use all of our departments to address the root
The needs.
causes
Yes.
of these problems.
Correct.
Like, for example, social services.
Yes.
And if you wanted to surrender, because life in the mountains is difficult,
Harsh.
where would you go? Do you have a program for that? So
Correct.
I implemented the rebel returnee program, where I would give 30,000 for every rebel that would surrender his firearm. And this 30,000 would be handled by the local social welfare officer of that town, where he would be reintegrated with the assurance from the mayor that he or she would be given the courtesy and protection of that local government unit. Aside from that, we went down to barangay level, yes. In fact, we have these barangay tanods
Correct.
that are there. Wala yang shotgun, wala yang ano, but they try to keep the peace.
Yes, yes.
But they are really, wala nga yung
They have the
sweldo.
political will.
Correct.
Oh.
Wala silang sweldo, yung mga barangay tanods. So, I supported them with all of the equipment that they needed. I insured them with the PhilHealth program. And may accident insurance pa sila. And every year, we would give them from the capital parang thank you.
Okay.
A thank you allowance to them for helping us maintain the peace
Not
and
only
order.
that, what I got, when I was there, I've seen how you operated the governance there. And you created a kibbutz type of
Yes.
support
Yes.
to the barangays.
That's true.
Diba?
That's
Okay pa rin ba up to now? Is it
That's a good
functioning?
question. Sige, is that kibbutz style
That's a
of system
question
still
that
okay?
should be answered by my successor.
Successor.
But it's, I think I would like twice to say that during my time, we were able to raise the morale of the barangay tanods
Barangay.
and even the barangay itself. Kasi
Yun ang
this is
importante.
also integrated with another program of mine, and which was to rate the barangays. We call them from the
livelihood
purok, puroks to the barangay mismo, to the town, to the city, to rate them on several categories.
Okay.
Health and sanitation,
May
enhancement
kanya-kanyang
of
tasking.
heritage, and we really, ito sa competition.
Ganda.
Ang nangyayari,
Okay.
everybody wanted to, kasi
to join,
when we would, everybody wanted to win.
Correct.
Incentivize it.
Ganda.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Magandang
Because yung ano
incentive.
kasi, yung awarding would be held at the CICC.
Okay.
And we would, all the barangay captains and all the officials of all the
Would be
44
present.
towns and 7 cities present.
Yes.
And when we would call out that particular barangay, winning barangay or the winning town,
Yeah.
all of the officials of that LGU would be paraded down to a huge stage.
Yeah.
And everybody else left behind would be saying, next year, it
Kami
has to
naman.
be us.
Kami naman.
That's also, understanding the
Correct.
psyche of
The psyche of the people.
the Cebuanos or the Filipinos.
correct.
Or even human nature, no?
Oo.
It's important that
Oo nga.
there's
Recognition.
recognition for your
oo.
efforts.
Correct.
I have here another Cebu paper. This says, I don't know how to react to this. Is this good or is this bad? Regarding capital slashing the budget for 9 hospitals. How am I supposed to understand that if I was an ordinary Cebuano governor, congresswoman?
Well, first of all, I would have to say that having served
Yeah.
Cebu for 9 years,
Yeah.
I had always made health services also one of my top priorities.
Yes.
Right now, reading that, would be very saddened
Okay.
by this sudden reversal of
Okay.
policy. True, as the Cebu provincial government, we have to support 18 16 district
Yes.
hospitals. And
Yes.
when I was governor, I did put up 3 provincial hospitals
Okay.
with 100 bed capacities in each of these hospitals.
Yes.
I knew that the health services occupied a huge chunk of the budget.
Okay.
But I said that we can always turn them into economic enterprises
Okay.
by not by charging exorbitant fees, but by investing heavily in PhilHealth.
Okay.
If we were to enroll as many families as possible
In PhilHealth.
to the PhilHealth program, then whatever services that may be extended by our hospitals would be reimbursed
Correct.
by PhilHealth. And
Okay.
PhilHealth now has quite high rates
Yes,
for
yes.
reimbursement.
Oo.
And so when I came in as governor, on the first year of our, at the time, 1 billion budget, we needed to appropriate about 200 million for
Yes.
the district hospitals. And when I asked, what is the return?
Yes.
How much do we collect from it? I was shocked to find out that it would be good if we could get back 10% of the 250 million that we had appropriated. But after we had aggressively enrolled
Yes.
our constituents, our families, the Cebuano families to the PhilHealth program, I was very happy to see the gradual increase in the revenues, in the reimbursements that were
Yes,
coming
yes,
back. And
yes.
when I left, I believe we were already hitting 55 or 60% of what we were investing. Now, I've always considered government as an enterprise, so handle it like an enterprise.
Yes,
but at the
yes.
same time,
That's a good one.
let us not forget the social service dimension
Of course.
of the job.
Yes.
That there are people who really need help.
Yes.
And government resources are supposed to be spent wisely in order for them to receive these services. So I'm saddened as a Cebuano and as a governor, former governor,
Correct.
by that.
We're going to shift from governor to Congress kasi nasa Congress na ngayon si governor. So I can imagine, I mean, the frenetic pace of being governor, all of a sudden you're now in Congress. How do you manage the shift? Are you okay lang or how is it?
Eric, you don't know how many times people ask me that question.
Okay.
Actually, even in Congress itself, they say it in more blatant terms. They say, "Gov, are you bored already?"
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the connector. Board.
Okay, before you answer that, we're going to pause
Totoo yan eh.
for a few reminders when we return.
Parang